Hello from Blether Together, the Farmstrong Scotland podcast. This is Sarah Stephen, and we've had some good news. Blether Together won in the Best Interview category at the first ever Scottish Podcast Awards. We are totally delighted and very proud. We thought we'd share with you the clips we pulled together for the entry, for anyone who's curious. The criteria for entry was to select 3 clips, a total of no more than 20 minutes, that demonstrate what we do. Our 3 clips coming up are Tommy Dale from Forth Resource Management and Caledonian Horticulture, talking about a period of mental ill health that really knocked him sideways back in 2013. After that, we'll hear from Willie Thompson and Anna Davies, who live and farm in East Lothian, talking about the impact of Willie's rheumatoid arthritis and how it's changed their lives, outlook and priorities. First though, here's a clip from our Menopause Special episode. Caithness crofter Sally Crowe sharing how menopause has impacted her, and expert gynaecologist with advice, Dr Heather Currie.
You cry more, obviously. I cry every day. I'm not a crier. So that's maybe more impacting than the physical side. It's the emotional side for me at the moment. But who knows? I mean, next week it could be an entirely different packet of fish. Kettle of fish, not packet of fish. Brain, seriously. I am 47, coming 48. I have a 5-year-old son, and I had him as a single mum with IVF. Then I was pregnant. I gave birth. Hang on, my cat's needing out here. 2 seconds. Sorry, she's going to sit and yowl if I don't let her out. Sorry, that's her. So yeah, William was born on my 42nd birthday, and I then went through, obviously, the whole postpartum hormone rush. That lovely bubble thing is great. But then it was in about that point when I'd have been about 45 that I realised I was starting with the perimenopause. And now at 48, I'm full in there. The hormonal rage, the peri-rage is coming out quite recently. I would have quite happily beat a woman to death in Tesco's with a French baguette one day because she slammed into me with a trolley, or hit me by accident, The hot flushes, the night sweats, the not sleeping. Yeah, I'm full on at the moment.
Topics like menopause and what often gets referred to as women's health are thankfully now getting talked about much more often, particularly on social media and elsewhere. But it is a very recent change, perhaps particularly in farming.
My mum, speaking to my dad about it this morning, my mum was in the NFU. She was on boards in Edinburgh and everything. And there was a couple of times she drove home from Edinburgh and she was still raging when she got home here. 30 years ago, there's no way mum could have stood up in a group of men, an NFU in Edinburgh, and said, I'm really sorry, I'm having a hot flush just now, or I'm really sorry, I'm struggling just now. All she would have been labelled then, oh, she's just a hormonal woman. Whereas now, yes, actually, I am a hormonal woman. My body is going through massive highs and lows. It's on a wild roller coaster. You don't like it, tough. It's nothing to do with you, accept it. But actually, cut me a little bit of slack just now. I think being open about it as well with other women. Too many of us are too embarrassed to talk about it because, we don't talk about things like that. But actually saying it, certainly the older generation of guys maybe find it harder because it's not what they're used to. And fair enough, there's respect goes both ways. So yeah, maybe standing in a mart in the middle of the ring trying to talk about your periods and your cycles not just the best way to go, because a lot of that older guys probably don't even talk about that with their wives, But we all kind of need to be a bit more open about it, I think. Oh, that's the other thing that's happened. The one good benefit I've found from menopause is I'm dark. I was at one point dark-haired. I'm not now. I've gone grey quite rapidly. I always had quite a lot of facial hair. It's just part of our family. We're all quite hairy. But the good thing is the moustache is gone because it's now dropped and it's now become a beard. It's just dropped all the way down. So, benefits. I don't have to worry about the tash. I've just got the chin hair now. So, and if people see me sitting at the traffic lights picking away, just ignore me because I don't care that you're seeing me picking them.
How fantastic. Thank you to Caithness crofter Sally Crowe for being so honest and so humorous. Listening to that alongside me is an expert herself, Dr. Heather Currie. Heather, just your initial reaction to Sally.
It was fantastic, actually. And there's so many really nugget points there, such as even talking to other women and the fact that men might find it difficult to talk to and they won't talk about it in the mart. And I'm thinking, why not? That's a great idea. Get me round the marts talking to the men about what might be happening to them and their partners and the women at the marts,
I can see that as a new Netflix series. Dr. Currie tours the marts.
I'd love that.
You're up for it. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for joining us. It's lovely to have you with us on our Farmstrong podcast. You are part of a farming enterprise with your husband. So just tell us a little bit about that.
So we farm in southwest Scotland. We both work outside the farm, obviously, and we breed Aberdeen Angus cattle. And it's a great way of getting exercise. So, one of the messages to get across, which actually many people in farming will already be doing loads of exercise. And there's so many things around managing menopausal symptoms. It's not just about taking medications. There's so many other things around it. And what I love when I'm helping is being outside in the fresh air, doing exercise without thinking it's exercise. It's just so much good stuff within farming that can help with the menopause transition. So I loved helping.
Did you grow up on a farm?
I did. Actually, I was brought up in north of England on a hill farm, beef and sheep. Went to uni at Newcastle. There I met my husband doing agriculture. We had maybe just a few years of not being directly as involved with agriculture, but we very soon, after buying our first house, then rented a bit of land for cattle, and then we're lucky enough to buy our own small holdings. So we have a couple of small holdings, southwest Scotland, and focus on the breeding, on the genetics.
Going back to something that Sally said, her mum in a room full of men would never have said, this is how I'm feeling, cut me some slack, give me a bit of a break. And I'm just wondering, are we, she talks about the freedom to do that now, but I'm wondering, do we do it?
Sometimes. So the big message around menopause is that everyone is different in terms of how the menopause affects them. So the baseline biology is that we stop producing estrogen. So our ovaries produce estrogen. It's a really important hormone and it has all sorts of effects. And when our estrogen first fluctuates and then becomes low, that can trigger all sorts of reactions. So the first thing about individualization is that even though it's the same biological process, everyone is affected differently. It is unique. And similarly, then, when we come to how do we deal with it, again, everyone is different. So there's much more awareness now. There's much more chat about menopause in various forms, in general conversations, in menopause cafes, online, on forums, on podcasts. There's a whole load of stuff on telly also. But for some women, it's still very personal to them. So we should never have a blanket approach. And sometimes at the moment, there's so much about it. I think some women are feeling under pressure to actually talk about it or take a certain treatment when actually they may not want to. So whatever we're doing, whichever way we're giving information, we always have to keep in mind everyone is going to deal with this in a different way.
Thanks to Dr. Heather Currie and before her, crofter Sally Crowe. Up next, here's Tommy Dale on one of the toughest times in his life. We're here to talk about well-being, emotional, physical. Do you think about it a lot?
I'm very aware of it. In 2013, I had an absolute mental breakdown through putting myself through far too much. And, one day, just a black cloud came down that just overwhelmed me for about a month, and I just remember like literally crying for days. And it felt like everything was lost. And, but actually, again, being surrounded by great people, loving family, I kind of got through that, and I realized that I need to be quite careful and not push myself. I just pushed myself far too hard and was trying to do far too much and burnt myself out. I learned a massive amount through that. I'm now, although I'm busy, I just make sure that I'm not doing too much.
Did that catch you? Must have caught, well, I mean, I suppose you can't, did you see it coming? Did it catch you unaware?
Yeah, completely. I would have, if you said to me in like 2012 that something like that might happen to you, I said, nah, I don't think so, not me. But there was a real lesson in that. So, yeah, and with young kids and, with lots of people depending on me with the businesses and everything else, got a responsibility not only to myself, but to everyone else, just to keep myself that, on the straight and narrow. So,
Would you mind sharing what caused that?
so I think a part of it was my good friend Johnny, who was captain of our rugby team, broke his neck playing rugby, and he recovered, well, to a degree in terms of got out of hospital, but he just couldn't use his limbs really, and he was getting more and more depressed. Social media was just coming on, and he was watching everyone else's lives on social media. And I said, look, Johnny, we need to get you doing something. So we started a social enterprise together called Growing Forth, so that we could create opportunities for people like Johnny and others, people recovering from drugs addiction or alcohol, people with learning difficulties, to contribute and feel they were involved with something. So we started that, and to try and preserve some of that last market gardening heritage that East Lothian was so famous for. So Growing Forth, and we built up a veg box scheme. I like the model. So with FRM, our model's good, that we charge the councils and landscapers to bring us their garden cuttings. We then make it into a compost and we sell it back out the door. So we tried to find a model like that. So the idea was that we would charge the kitchens, the restaurants and the hotels to take away their food waste, which is something my great granddad used to do. He used to have a swill run up in Edinburgh, pig farms on the edge of the city. So collect the food waste, feed it to pigs. So we were doing that, but it was going to anaerobic digesters. And then we were selling back the vegetables to the kitchens, which on paper sounds amazing, but chefs at the end of their shift generally just want to put an order in with a 24-hour food service company and get their carrots delivered, washed, clean, chopped up in a bag, whereas ours were wonky and covered in compost. And so they loved the concept, but they didn't really want to use the service. So it was struggling a bit. We took on the local farm shop so that we had a market, and thought, well, we could sell our compost there. Still involved the lobsters, so we had like tanks selling our lobsters there as well. We had 3 different market gardens, one at the farm shop. We had some old converted polytunnels on a mushroom farm. It was just full of tomatoes and cucumbers, and we had a wall garden at Archfield that had been redone, and we were growing there. And it was just insane. Like, we had the most incredible bunch of people involved. A lot of them were volunteers, but as they spent more and more time with us, they deserved to get paid. So we started to pay them because they needed to be paid. And then economically, it just didn't have legs. And it was so stressful. And I was just running harder and harder, trying to keep it going and then poor Johnny died with 2 young kids, passed away. So Johnny passed away. Yeah, no, thank you. And the farm shop, oh God, we had free range hens, and the eggs were like proper pasture eggs, so they're always filthy. So like cleaning eggs, I remember paying my kids I think it was 2p an egg to wash and dry eggs. I know you're maybe not meant to wash eggs, so maybe you shouldn't say that. So it was awful. It was too much. And then one day, just the black clouds just came down and consumed me. They broke me mentally, and it was unbelievable. It was just so intense. And as I say, I cried for a month, just like it's been raining for a month here. It was like me, but just tears.
How much of a challenge? I'm just wondering how much of a challenge it was to put your hand up and say, this is just too much. It's overwhelming.
Well, I think that was part of the problem. I didn't do that because I kept thinking, until that point, I was a believer that you could pretty much achieve whatever you wanted just by trying harder. So I just kept trying harder and harder until it completely broke me. I was just mentally and physically exhausted. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of thought went into it. It was just go until you break.
Tell me a bit about, I'd love to know a bit about, obviously, acknowledgement and the recognition, right? This is, I'm in a bad place here. And then recovery, what did you do to recover?
So I suppose over a month, I slowly but surely sort of re-emerged from the darkness. We had to make some pretty big decisions. Unfortunately, the social enterprise had to be shut down. And telling folk in wheelchairs or folk that have, like got their first ever job because they've got quite severe learning difficulties or, recovering from addictions, that they no longer have a job or a purpose was awful. But it had to be done. There was no other option. And we restructured the farm shop and eventually got shot of that. And just made the changes that needed to be made. And a lot of learning was found in a short period of time. And I promised myself at that point that all the other businesses going forward would run for the triple bottom line, because we'd had to get shot of that social enterprise. Because I thought, we've got the social enterprise, we've got the commercial businesses. So we just restructured it. And I just said, well, look, if I'm going to be involved in businesses, they're going to work for the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, not in any particular order, but just those three things are what we're about. And that's what we've tried to do ever since.
Wise words from Tommy Dale on work-life balance. Our last clip is from Willie Thompson and Anna Davies on how Willie's arthritis has impacted their family's lives and well-being.
When it came on, it did come on kind of quite suddenly. I mean, it was, my youngest daughter was 4 years old at the time, and I had to get her to put my socks on. I thought, this is not right. So I obviously went and got checked out. But no, my mum has had arthritis. She actually just turned 90, but she's had it for 40 plus years, as did her mother, and two of my sisters also have. I mean, it's not all the same, but it's an autoimmune. We've all got these kind of little autoimmune, let's say, glitches. We're not all got the same things. So, it's not a total shock. But when it came on, and I was 45 or 6 or something at the time, I thought, oh, great. Oh, well, this is something to look forward to for the rest of my days. But yeah, I got looked after.
And did you have to take time to process that? Have you? I mean, you obviously, are you at peace with it now? Do you just manage it well? Are you?
Well, there's nothing I could do about it other than get looked after. And I've got to say, the NHS have been great. So I don't really feel there's any other option but to accept it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, going back to it, did affect how we're farming and running the business. And I could have carried on, but I'd have been run down, and it would have made, I think, stress, and there's various triggers which seems to kick it off. And I think removing that stress, and I mean, people do think I'm probably laid back and chilled, but I do think that's actually a strength. So I'm accepting of it and take what help is there available to you, and just deal with the hand you've been given. So yeah.
But I think I've been quite an understanding, farmer's wife. Our eldest daughter was born right in the middle of harvest, so we hardly saw Willie, and I just kind of had to get on with it. But I suppose I was also I've always been a bit of a worm in Willie's ear, even before his diagnosis, saying, just remember that there is more to life than farming. Do you really want to get to be 80 and think that you didn't go to any of your daughter's birthday parties because you were sitting in a tractor? And do you really want to get to 80 and think, oh, I never went on holiday, and we always turned down invitations for X number of months of the year because it was the silly season? And so I've always been a bit of a worm like that, because I'm of the view that, you can't take your time or your money with you. So you need to make the most of both of those things while you've got them.
Do you think that's coming from a non-farming background? Sorry, Anna, do you think that's coming from a non-farming background that gave you that sort of different approach, different attitude?
Maybe, although I do remember one of my uncles, actually, he is a farmer. Well, he's kind of retired now. He's got 2 sons who farm. But he's always been kind of more of the view of, and I think my grandfather was the same, actually, of, yes, this is our livelihood, but actually we also have a life. And my uncle, if there was a wedding in August or September, even though he was an arable farmer, he would be at the wedding. Whereas a lot of arable farmers, I went to one of my really good friends' weddings on my own because Willie was busy. But that wouldn't happen now. If we had a wedding, we're kind of out of the wedding season. But, if we had an important wedding and it was in the harvest, you would just say, right, well, the combine's not going on that date because we're going to a wedding. Whereas before it would have been like, oh, well, yeah, I'll RSVP for myself and I'll go along on my own. That's not, to me, this is the way it should be. Like, I'm not saying you should stop the combine for every single possible social engagement. But, if it's a close friend or family member's wedding, I mean, that only happens once, doesn't it? Somebody said to me the other day, oh yeah, the older you get, the faster a year goes. And that's true. And then also when you look back, you think, goodness, how has that happened? How have all those years gone by? And you only live once. So you've got to make the most of what you've got. And if you want to make the most of your time by being in a cattle shed for 14 hours a day, then go for it. But that's not what I would choose to do, and I think your mind has changed a little bit too.
Well, it has, but almost because it was, how much would my mindset have changed if I didn't have to slow down because of the arthritis?
I wonder
myself
yes.
that as well. So.
Yeah. So there you are. That's our victory lap. Perhaps we're showing off, but we don't care. We wanted to mark the occasion of winning at the first ever Scottish Podcast Awards. And we couldn't have done it without you. Find Farmstrong Scotland online, farmstrongscotland.org.uk. Thank you. That's it for now. See you next time.